Hi, everyone. Great to see you. This is such a cool venue. I love it. It's amazing. So what's your reason? Why do you value nature? There are a million reasons, and I know many of you in the audience have your own reasons. I want to show you what our AI chatbot reasons came up with. These are some of the reasons that AI found for valuing, preserving, and protecting nature. So look at that for a minute and think about, does any of that resonate with you? Well, I want to share a reason I'm going to talk about today that's our AI chatbot did not find on the web, and that's this: enlightened self-interest. So not just self-interest, we all know what that is. I have an economics background, and that's what we often as economists think about. This is enlightened self-interest, and this is a term that one of my former bosses and mentors, Peter Seligman, used to use a lot when he was engaging with companies, governments, communities around the world. And the enlightened part is really important. Basically what that means is instead of just thinking about yourself, your own bottom line, even your own family, you think about the larger community. And in my 27 or so years of experience doing environmental conservation, I find that enlightened self-interest is really the most durable kind. But of course, it depends on who you are, where you are, what your sphere of influence is. And I'm going to start here by talking about governments. So what does enlightened self-interest look like for governments? Well, I'll say one thing, at the Nature Conservancy and many other organizations, as we look at the double crises of biodiversity loss, climate change, there's a third that we often don't talk about, and that's the debt crisis. So many, in fact 60% of low-income countries are at the risk of debt default. So debt that they owe either to international creditors, IMF, World Bank, many organizations who hold these, as well as private creditors. And when we talk to governments around the world, and they say, look, we have 60% of our annual income has to go back to pay those creditors, how in the world can we as a global community expect those governments to pay for more resilient watersheds, more resilient coastlines, better fisheries, all the environmental things that they have to deal with now when they're paying so much debt outside of their countries? I mean, imagine if you had 60% of your annual income just being paid to your credit card companies, you wouldn't be able to do much to reinforce your own house, your own place, your own family. So this is what we call the poly crisis. So those three issues together are creating an opportunity really for investing in the things that is in government's enlightened self-interest, both to pay back their creditors or to refinance their debt, as well as to invest in environmental conservation and climate change resilience. So I'm going to start with a story of this place, the Seychelles. So the Seychelles, many years ago, in like 2008, 2009, was really having a very difficult time paying back its international creditors. They were highly indebted. They knew they needed to invest in conservation. They wanted to really invest in marine ecosystems, which is a core part of their tourism economy, of course, but they just couldn't. And so the Nature Conservancy, working with the government of the Seychelles, said, well, what if we did something together? What if we restructured your debt, we bought your old debt, and we helped to do a new credit line that had better interest rates and a longer-term investment period, and with the savings, you can put that into environmental conservation. And they said, sure, let's give it a try. So we did. We took a big risk. And we actually helped to refinance. At that time, this was the smallest deal we've done since then, $22 million US dollars. And that unlocked through the refinancing mechanism, like refinancing your mortgage. We were able to unlock over $430,000 a year for the next 15 years for the country of the Seychelles to invest in its marine ecosystem. It went from less than 1% protection to over 30% protection of its exclusive economic zone, 109 million acres, about the size of Germany. Now that was the start, and what we found since then, that was in 2016, is that we're now seeing blue whales come back to this country. We don't know if it's causal. My marine biologist friends would say, it's not causal, but we think that having a more relaxed fisheries has really helped the revitalization of the marine ecosystem. So that was the start. And since then, We've developed a whole portfolio of nature bonds, again, based in this enlightened self-interest of repaying debt. What the finance ministers really want to see is help paying back their debt. And it's really moved, I think, the conservationists into a different space when talking to governments. You know, usually many of us, including Brett Jenks in the audience, we would go and we visit a country and they'd be like, oh yeah, the environment minister's down there. Yeah, he's got a little office in the outbuilding. No money, very little staff. When you start talking about debt restructuring, you get a meeting with the president. You get a meeting with the finance minister, you get a meeting with the prime minister immediately because it's in their enlightened self-interest. So since that first deal in 2016 in the Seychelles, we've done Belize, Barbados, and Gabon, and we're looking at doing many more. We're going to be announcing another one in the next couple weeks. We've been able to refinance $1.2 billion in total debt, unlocking $400 million in conservation, not from philanthropy, but from the private sector. I think this is a real game changer. We've always been looking for that holy grail of getting more money from the private sector into conservation, and this does this, which is really exciting. And of course, the most important thing is unlocking the conservation outcomes, which to date we've protected an area about the size of the Gulf of Mexico. So that's exciting. And it's, of course, in everyone's best interest, including the Nature Conservancy, that everyone do this. So we've been talking to the entire environmental community. We don't want to own this. We want everyone to be doing this. And so now Pew Charitable Trust, just last year, did one in the Galapagos that was over $1 billion in one transaction. So we want to encourage everyone out there. If you want to learn more about this, please come see me. We want everyone in this community to be doing this work. So for governments and communities, it provides this: debt relief, credit rating, funding for conservation, and of course, conservation benefits. Now, I want to talk about one of the most challenging industries on planet Earth, and that is tuna. So tuna, many of you in the audience know this, but tuna is, if we could fix the tuna industry, we could do a lot to help save marine conservation. It is one of the most challenging industries on the planet. So much bycatch, sharks, rays, turtles every year are being killed because of our tuna fisheries, but there is hope. There is some disruption happening in this space that I wanted to just share for a minute. So a couple of years ago, we created a company with the Republic of Marshall Islands called Pacific Island Tuna. And the idea was quite simple. Instead of going through lots of middlemen and having no eyes on the seas, no cameras on boats, we decided to change that and require every single vessel that's signed up to Pacific Island Tuna has to have cameras on boats and has to do 100% dockside offloading of its catch. The two biggest problems, of course, are bycatch and also slavery. And the reason that there's so much slavery in this industry is because there are no eyes on the sea. No one is seeing what's happening on these boats. We have to change that. So we said, let's do this. Let's create this company. 100% of all long-term profits go back to the Republic of the Marshall Islands. We're repatriating profits back to that country that sees very little money, and that's very standard across the Pacific. And to date, we've sold 66 million cans of tuna to Walmart. So everyone thought we were crazy. You know, why would Walmart do this? Why is this in their self-interest? This is going to be expensive. This is going to be risky. They're taking a chance on one company they've never worked with before. And it's because Walmart wanted supply chain resilience. It wants to build brand loyalty. It wants to get ahead of regulation, quite frankly. So they're playing both offense and defense. And of course, the Republic of Marshall Islands sees a huge opportunity in this. And now Walmart wants to do this in shrimp and many other commodities, and other companies as well have signed up to something called the Tuna Transparency Pledge, which basically Walmart could have done this and differentiated themselves, but they said, no, it's in our enlightened self-interest that everybody has eyes on the seas. We can't get to 100% sustainable tuna if we only do it as Walmart. So now Costco signed up, Albertsons has signed up, 100% electronic monitoring by the end of 2027. Governments are signing up to this. This is huge. So please, those of you in this space, go tell everyone about this pledge. We need all companies to be involved. And finally, I just want to give a shout out to one of my personal heroes, mentors, Paul Hawken, who's worked with many, many companies on enlightened self-interest and making sure that they understand their role in the universe. And just want to share this quote with you, because for me, this is what it's all about. We all have to act now, so find your reason, go for it. Thank you very much.